Homeless man played guitar on the street the next morning. He had a record deal in hand. The city exhaled its usual symphony of chaos. Honking cabs, chattering crowds, and the faint hum of despair that clung to the pavement. On the corner of 7th and Pine, Marcus Jackson sat cross-legged, his battered guitar cradled like a lifeline. His dark skin glistened with sweat under the midday sun, and his fingers danced across the strings, weaving a melody so raw it seemed to pull the air tighter. Passers-by tossed coins into his open case, some with pity, others with indifference. But Marcus didn't play for their money. He played to drown out the voices in his head, voices that whispered he'd never escape the streets, that his blackness was a chain no talent could break. Marcus had been homeless for 3 years, ever since a layoff spiraled into eviction. At 32, he'd seen enough to know the world didn't bend for men like him. Yet his music was defiance, a cry that refused to be silenced. That day, his voice carried a gospel-like ache, drawing a small crowd. Among them was Claire Bennett, a 24-year-old music scout with a knack for spotting raw talent. Her pale cheeks flushed as she recorded Marcus on her phone, captivated by his soulful chords. She saw Astoria Black Street musician rising from nothing. It was the kind of narrative her label, Horizon Records, craved. Claire approached Marcus after his set, her voice bright with promise. "You're incredible," she said, handing him her card. "I want to get you in a studio. Tomorrow." Marcus stared at the card, his heart pounding. Hope felt foreign, dangerous even. But he nodded, clutching the card like it might vanish. Word of Claire's discovery spread fast. By evening, a viral video of Marcus's performance racked up thousands of views. Comments poured in, "This guy's a legend." And finally, someone sees his worth. But beneath the praise lurked venom. "Just another handout for a black guy," one user sneered. "Bet he's a thug." The internet's ugliness churned, and by nightfall, Marcus's story had become a lightning rod for division. The next morning, Marcus arrived at Horizon's sleek studio, his guitar slung over his shoulder. Claire greeted him warmly, but the air felt heavy. Outside, a small protest had formed, locals angry that a vagrant was being handed fame. Among them was Officer Daniel Holt, a burly cop with a history of profiling. Holt had patrolled Marcus's corner for years, always with a scowl. To him, Marcus was trouble waiting to happen. Inside, Marcus laid down his first track, his voice trembling but powerful. Claire beamed, already envisioning Grammy nods. But as the session wrapped, chaos erupted. Holt stormed into the studio, claiming a disturbance call. His eyes locked on Marcus. "You don't belong here," he growled, hand on his holster. Claire stepped forward, furious. "He's our artist. Leave him alone." The tension crackled, a standoff fueled by years of unspoken prejudice. That's when the twist came. From the crowd outside emerged Mrs. Lena Carter, a frail black woman in her 70s who'd watched Marcus play for years. She'd never spoken to him, but her presence was a quiet constant. Now, she pushed through the protesters, her voice steady. "I know this man," she said, holding up a faded photo. "He's my nephew. He saved my life when we were kids, pulling me from a fire. You call him worthless? He's a hero." The revelation stunned the crowd. Claire's eyes widened. Holt's grip on his holster faltered. Lena's words humanized Marcus in a way his music alone couldn't. The protesters quieted, some shuffling away in shame. Holt, cornered by the truth, muttered an excuse and left. Marcus, tears in his eyes, hugged Lena. He hadn't recognized her after decades apart, but her love anchored him. Claire seized the moment, live-streaming Lena's story. The video exploded, shifting the narrative. Marcus wasn't just a musician. He was a survivor, a man who'd carried others even when he had nothing. By noon, Horizon offered him a record deal, complete with a signing bonus to get him off the streets. The crowd outside, once hostile, now clapped as Marcus signed the contract, his hands shaking. But the victory wasn't tidy. Online, the debate raged. Some hailed Marcus's rise as justice. Others called it woke pandering. Claire grappled with her role. Had she exploited Marcus's pain for profit? Marcus himself wrestled with the spotlight. Fame felt like a fragile bridge, one that could collapse under the weight of a world still divided. That evening, Marcus sat on his old corner, guitar in hand. He played not for coins but for clarity. Lena sat beside him, her presence a balm. The city moved on, but for Marcus, the music was enough. It had carried him through darkness and into a dawn he never dared dream of. His debut single, Fire in My Bones, dropped a month later, climbing charts and sparking conversations about race, redemption, and resilience. Lena's story became its heart, a reminder that heroes often wear the humblest clothes. Marcus used his platform to advocate for the homeless, challenging stereotypes with every note. The story of Marcus Jackson wasn't just about a record deal. It was about a man who turned pain into poetry, who faced a world that judged his skin and still chose to sing. It was about a community forced to confront its biases, and a woman who saw beyond them. Most of all, it was about hope, not the cheap kind, but the hard-won kind, forged in fire and carried by those who refused to break. What do you think? Was Marcus's rise a triumph of talent, or did society's divisions taint his victory? Share your thoughts on justice and prejudice in our world today.